Please join in singing to this beautiful video, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all streams of compassion, blowing the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart
All the stirrings
all the stir
of compassion.
of compassion.
Blow in the wind.
Blow in the wind,
Rise in the sea.
rise in the sea,
Move in the hand.
move in the hand,
Giving life the shape
the shape
of justice.
justice.
Roots hold me close.
Hold me close,
Wings set me free.
wings set me free.
Spirit of life, come to me.
Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Sarah Oglesby Donegan, and I am the settled minister here. And it is my joy this morning and many mornings to greet you both online and in person and to say welcome. Yes. These opening words come to us from Lucille Clifton. I am running into a new year. I'm running into a new year, and the old years blow back like a wind that I catch in my hair, like strong fingers, like all my old promises, and it will be hard to let go of what I said to myself about myself when I was 16 and 26 and 36. But I'm running into a new year, and I beg what I love and I leave to forgive me.
Katie and the chalice. Okay. Good morning. I'm Katie Seifert. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Director of Music Ministries, and so excited to be here singing and making music with you. For our first hymn, please stand in body or in spirit, and we're going to sing this song in a round to create harmony with each other. We're going to sing it a cappella. And if you're in this section, you're going to follow me. We're going to do this in 4 rounds. If you are in the front half of the middle section, you're going to follow Andrew. Let's see where we split it. And then about halfway through here back, you're going to follow Trisha, right here. And then this section over here, you're going to follow Noelle. So we're going to sing this song, the verse all together one time, and then we're going to break off in 4 rounds. And I'll direct you if you're feeling confused.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions.
Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to
bridges between our divisions.
I
reach out to bridges between our divisions. I reach out to bridges. Will you reach out to me? Friends, we could make such a sweet divisions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. We're building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building such sweet harmony.
Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Good morning, everyone. I am Marcy Beaudoin. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Director of Faith Formation here at Valley UU. Now is the time for our story, our time for all ages. If you have children at home and you want to bring them in front of the device, now is the time. Any kids that are in the sanctuary, feel free to come sit on the floor. Make sure you sit where you can see the screen. It's zooming out. Come on down. I think we've got a small group today. So while we're getting organized for this, I wanted to remind families that today is our last Play Sunday. Next week is our Water Fun Day. So kids should come in their bathing suits with sunscreen on, bring a towel, and don't start here. We're going to start right over there. We've got a 20-foot tall inflatable water slide. We've got this huge unicorn sprinkler. It's my favorite Sunday of the year.
What's the age limit, Marcy?
92. Starting as young as you want up to however old you want, yeah. Also, now is the time to register your kids for our spring classes if you haven't already, fall classes if you have not already done so. So, today's book introduces the idea of sometimes when we are around other people, sometimes they're not very nice to us. Have we experienced that before? Or maybe you've seen someone being not nice to someone else. And it makes me wonder why those people are mean to other people. What's going on in their world? And should we even think about that, or should we just react to their meanness? So, let's start our book. Today's book is called Lunch Every Day, and it was written and illustrated by Catherine Otoshi. There he is. Just look at him. Skinny neck, slumping over. Is there a face behind all that hair? I could topple him with a tap. Huh, no way am I standing in that line. That's the free lunch line. His lunch is good, better than mine would be. Bet his home life is better too. Older brothers, you know. So the next day at school, I shove him extra hard just 'cause I can. Someone sees me do it, tattletale, and I end up in the office. The principal tells me to try my potential. I look down like I feel bad. Mostly, I just feel mad. Things stay the same for a while until, Skinny Kid's having a party. Everyone's invited, and I hear, hey, did you get one? Yeah, the whole class got one. Are you going? Sure, why not? I got an invitation too. What are you going to wear? Oh, maybe a new dress. I love parties. All these voices, whatever. I am so not going. The morning of the party, I look out the window. Put on my best shirt, and I go. When I get there, everyone's holding a gift, so I just put my hands in my pockets. I walk up the pathway, up the stairs, and to the front door. I can see Skinny Kid's mom inside, holding a birthday cake. Everyone's celebrating in the kitchen, so I stay in the living room. I slump down in a chair, kicking the air, and I hear a sound and I look up. His mom is in the doorway, like she knows I'm there. She sees me, like sees me. She marches right up to me. This is where we're reading his thoughts. Do you see all those little words on there? Sorry, so sorry, please don't yell at me. Please not here, sorry, don't yell. She says in a really quiet voice, Jimmy, what would you like for lunch tomorrow? Nothing. I don't eat anything. Well, I hear you like my lunches. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a second lunch, and my son will bring it for you every day, okay? And you know what? She did. And that's how I got lunch every day, and a whole lot more. I thought I could do this without crying. I've only read it 4 times. This book is dedicated to Jim Perez, an educator in Southern California. Under his leadership, he and his innovative team have helped hundreds of thousands of kids through their bullying prevention programs, gang interventions, and community building leadership services. I can say this. The book is also dedicated to the lady who kept making lunches for him every day. So we can do things. We don't have to react to their anger. We can help. So now the kids and I are going to go play. I'd like all of you to make a bridge of love, please. And we'll go through the glass doors, and I'll meet you out on the patio.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning. And welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Mary Rothschild, and I'm your worship associate today. My pronouns are she, her. It's my great pleasure to welcome everyone who is with us today in whatever format you have chosen. Those of you who are here in the sanctuary and those of you who are joining us online. We're delighted you're with us today, and we welcome you, whatever your background, however you define your family, and whoever you choose to love. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome into our sacred space of love and community. Let our time together honor our diversity in all its forms as we welcome each other with openness and compassion. We are always delighted to welcome new guests among us. For those of you visiting UU today online, please introduce yourself in the chat so that we can get to know you. For new guests in the sanctuary, we would be very grateful if you would stand so that we can greet you now and after the service. Thank you so much. I know that can be really scary. And now let's all of us in the sanctuary and online wave to each other and say, hi. Thanks. For those of you attending in person, I now have light in my eye that makes it impossible for me to read. Seriously. For those of you attending in person and wanting to know more about Unitarian Universalism and VUU itself, a welcome circle will form in the back of the sanctuary after the service. So get a beverage and look for the welcome circle sign and join the discussion, or just say and chat. We're friendly and excited to meet you. If you're visiting online, you will be able to join a breakout room for a discussion following the service. It couldn't be easier. Simply accept the Zoom invitation that will appear on your screen. We're so glad all of you are here today with us in whatever form you've chosen. If you have a burden that you'd like to share with someone or just need a listening ear, a trained pastoral care associate will be available after the service, both in person and online. Our pastoral care association in person today is Carla Knight, who's just stood up, who will be waiting at the very front of the sanctuary on your right immediately following the service. Alternatively, if you're attending this service online, Joyce Donahue will be your pastoral care associate on Zoom. Just send her a private message in the chat and she will get in touch with you after the service. Additionally, lay pastoral care associates are available during the week via email at pastoralcare@vuu.org. For those of you here in the sanctuary, there is a quiet room on your right for use during the service for anyone at any age needing a break. It's soundproof and has a speaker so you won't miss anything. In our pulpit today, our settled minister, it feels so good to be able to say that, the Reverend Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan will be giving a sermon on compassion, forgiveness, and beloved community, and I can hardly wait to hear it. And lastly, please remember, this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
So today we're going to honor some folks who serve you valiantly as your board representatives. And we're going to do a little board investiture thing, which I don't think you guys are in the practice of doing, but I think it's important for you to see the faces and names of folks who are representing you to help make decisions about this community and what happens here. Now, if you're new to Unitarian Universalism, we have a very flat structure for making decisions. We elect board members, and those folks help manage your money and policies. And I'm going to invite the two that are in here in person to come forward and be with me on the stage. We'll have pictures of the rest of them, and some of them will be online. If you're online, you can throw in the chat box that you're there and hello. You have really complicated lines. There'll be a point when I ask the congregation to say, "I will," and then you'll say, "I will." And for our board members, I will do the same thing. So I do all the talking, you get to say, "I will." It's kind of like a marriage ceremony, only way simpler. And you've only given a couple years of commitment, so. In a free religious community, to serve is the highest expression of our commitment and love. To be asked to lead is the highest honor. This morning, the members of Valley Unitarian Universalist are recognizing you as the leaders for this coming year, and they appear before you. The relationship between a congregation and board is one of deep respect and mutual regard. You've asked them to take on the holy work of discernment and guidance. They need you to support them in their work, share ideas and concerns in love, and to offer them trust as they fulfill their office faithfully. The work of the congregation is the work of the people. It is the work of building the world of which we dream. It may require time spent poring over budget sheets. Amen? Hours spent in meetings where small details are hashed out. It may manifest in shared laughter, I hope so, or outright frustration from time to time. Yes, it does happen. But it is always sacred, for it is in pursuit of beloved community. Service is an act of faith. Service done faithfully in love is the work of justice and community building. And this is what you have asked of these people before you this morning, that they serve you faithfully and well. And so I'm going to go through and have their names said. So we have Mark Foote, your vice president. We do have slides for this. You can pull the slides up if you want, Libby. Okay, sorry. So we'll start with Mary Wolf Francis, your president. Your vice president, Mark Foote. I'm going to go by the slides. Tom Briggs, raise your hand. Thanks. And Diane Hansen, who is now our person who is liaison to the finance team. Pam Swan. Nancy Egley, who is hopefully online. And Dan Sapacki. So these are the folks, and so to do this work, they need your trust and support. And now I ask you, members of Valley Unitarian Universalist, will you offer love and trust to your board, responding when they seek your input, showing up when they tell you that work needs to be shared, and listening carefully when they speak of the life of the church? If so, please respond, "We will." And now to those of you who are representing us. Will you be diligent and faithful in your work, bringing your best selves and practicing self-care and open-heartedness, tending with love the details of the work, and always keeping the goal of beloved community in front of you as you serve? If so, please respond, "We will."
We will.
May the spirit of love guide you in the coming year. May a spirit of joy infuse the work you engage, and may your service bless the world. Amen. And just as they're leaving to sit down again with you, I will say that this board has actually been some of the most joyous board work I have ever done. Y'all really know how to do this well. So we're going to sing thank you to them.
Oh, we give give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the times we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the times we shared with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
We begin this time of centering, a time to deepen together with a poem and prayer from Viola Abbott.
Let us open our hearts, still our minds, and enter a time of prayer.
Let us call forth and hold in our hearts the stories of all who have come before us, the memories of those who are with us today, and the hope for tomorrow, and for all of those who will come after us.
Let us be thankful for this opportunity for healing, forgiveness, and reconciliation, while knowing that we can never, should never, forget what has brought us here today.
Let us be glad that voice has not only been given to those whose sorrow and pain were their companions in this faith, but that the stories told by those voices have been received with the goal of redemption and understanding.
Let us call upon that light which shines in each of us to give us the strength to walk together into the future and do the work that is necessary and which does not end here today.
Let us have the wisdom to lovingly have the conversations we need to have with each other in order to grow this faith in radical love and inclusion.
Amen.
And I invite you to take a deep breath, to be in this time and place. If you have a prayer that you're needing, we invite you to light a candle or move a stone. We'll just keep singing and playing music till each of you's had the chance to do that wants to. You can stop singing if you want to, and just let the music hold you, as Katie will do for us.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. May I be safe and free from harm. May I be healthy and strong. May I be well and give with ease, be filled with love and peace. May you be safe and free from harm. May you be healthy and strong. May you be well be safe and free from harm. May we be healthy and strong. May we be well and live with ease. Be filled with love and peace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
When Reverend Sarah told me her sermon this morning was be focused on compassion, forgiveness, and beloved community, it immediately made me think about the ways I could be better in all of the above. And that brought me to consider what it would take for me to be more forgiving of people who I see as having harmed me, and to be more compassionate toward people with whom I don't agree. And there are a few of those. While I think in general I am more compassionate than not, showing compassion for people with whom I really don't agree is not one of my long suits. As I was pondering this conundrum, I came across this quotation from the novelist Neil Gaiman, and it occurred to me that it offered one way to be more forgiving and compassionate, though that wasn't the direct point of his quote. He wrote, "I was reading a book yesterday which included the phrase, 'in these days of political correctness,' talking about no longer making jokes that denigrated people for their culture or for the color of their skin. And I thought," he wrote, "that's not anything actually to do with political correctness. That's just treating other people with respect." Which made me oddly happy, he continued. I started imagining a world in which we replace the phrase politically correct wherever we could with treating people with respect. And it made me smile. Finally, he wrote, "You should try it. It's peculiarly enlightening." Although I think of myself as someone who is pretty politically correct most of the time, it's made me think that perhaps I could be more forgiving of people who aren't, and veer more toward treating other people with whom I disagree with at least a little more respect than I do now, and that both might move me at least a little more toward the path of compassion and beloved community. I might even find it peculiarly enlightening. Now, though it may strike some of you as having nothing to do with what I've said so far, I'd like to end my reflection with a poem from Mary Oliver, Why I Wake Up Early, that I believe would set all of us on a path toward compassion if we said it to ourselves when we woke up every day. "Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and crotchety. Best preacher that ever was, dear star, that just happens to be where you are in the universe to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness, in kindness." May we all find peculiar enlightenment from holding each other in respect and compassion, and may we all start our days in happiness and kindness. Blessed be.
Bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me?
to have without holding. Learning to love differently is hard. Love with the hands wide open, love with the doors banging on their hinges, the cupboard unlocked, the wind roaring and whimpering in the rooms, rustling the sheets and snapping the blinds that thwack like rubber bands in an open palm.
It hurts to love wide open, stretching the muscles that feel as if they're made of wet plaster, then of blunt knives, then of sharp knives.
It hurts to thwart the reflexes of grab, of clutch, to love and let go again and again. It pesters to remember the lover who is not in the bed, to hold back what is owed the work that gutters like a candle in a cave without air, to love consciously, conscientiously, concretely, constructively.
I can't do it. You say it's killing me, but you thrive. You glow on the street like a neon raspberry. You float and sail like helium balloon, bright bachelor's button, blue and bobbing on the cold and hot winds of our breath, as we make and unmake in passionate diastole and systole the rhythm of our unbound bonding, to have and not to hold, to love with minimized malice, hunger and anger, moment by moment balanced.
Earlier in my life, actually about half a lifetime ago, I experienced a powerful moment of reconciliation and redemption, restoration of relationship, with a colleague who had been somewhat of a nemesis, a woman who had disapproved of the grant I ended up running, both philosophically and pedagogically, and had disapproved of the idea of a then 25-year-old running it. In our college, we each ended up with our own supporters and detractors, and as we ran programs that required many of the same resources, we often were in competition with each other. I hate to admit it, but I got in the habit of joining others who detracted from her and her work. And from what I heard, she did the same in reference to me. We each imagined the other as an example of what was wrong with college education today, and we were ready to share our observations with listening ears. And we worked within a system that certainly had its liberatory promises. It was the first public education institution to integrate in Dallas. It also had its share of formal and informal practices that were caught in a system of hierarchy and oppressive functions. The power dynamics of our antagonisms were certainly lit against a backdrop of even deeper imbalances of power and privilege. As I realized how toxic this was for both of us, I made a decision to stop doing it. And in making that decision, I also decided to reach out to her. She was, at that time, twice my age, and I was intimidated by her, no doubt. But I wrote a letter to her in which I basically said, I have been at war with you, and I am done. I will no longer talk behind your back. If I have something to say, I will say it to you directly. And I included a copy of the poem For Strong Women by Marge Piercy, which basically points out that when we try to be strong by ourselves, we are actually isolated and weak, but when we connect with each other, we can find real strength. And then it was crickets. For 3 agonizing weeks, I felt foolish. I heard nothing. I started to think I had done something silly, that I had imagined our war. But then she called me and asked me to come meet her the next week and talk. She apologized for taking so long. Spring break had fallen in the middle of those 3 weeks, and between grading and being away, she had buried my letter in other paperwork. In fact, in one of those manila envelopes for intercampus mail, for those of you who've been on campuses, you can just have piles of those on your desk, right? But then she called me and asked me to meet her, and we did. When I met her, she apologized for taking so long, and I was astonished by the woman who shared herself. She told me that Marge Piercy was one of her favorite poets, happened to be one of my favorite poets, and that her poetry connected her to feminism and the civil rights movement, both of which were close to her heart. She shared with me about her own activism, and I about mine. I realized that actions of hers I had interpreted as hostile had been intended very differently and had come from a different place, and I knew that although we would never get there by the same paths, we both cared deeply about the same problems in our society. Now, that was the first and only time we had that kind of conversation, but she sent me a couple of books to read through intercampus mail that I enjoyed, and we both kept our word. Instead of vying for resources, we supported each other. When we disagreed, we either kept it to ourselves or called the other one up to check out what was going on. I helped students connect with her instead of fighting her. We still had different paths, but we learned to respect each other. She told me she thought my letter was brave and thanked me for writing it. And we, too, experienced a kind of expansiveness that enveloped far more than just the two of us. Our students and our programs felt it, too. Perhaps there were even echoes across the campus. When we widen the circle of care and concern, just like in the story we heard for the Time for All Ages, it can mean a lot of different things. It can mean increasing our awareness of others and their needs. It can mean opening our hearts to heartbreak. It can mean inviting new and different folks into our lives and our care. It can also mean healing relationships that feel broken and dysfunctional, or restoring relationship. And this is, to some degree, also about developing a capacity for forgiveness and apology, being able to address harm and to make space for something new. Now, in thinking about forgiveness, it seems like many other faith traditions and cultures have a container for forgiveness that we UUs seem to lack. We do not have a Day of Atonement or a confessional box for you to step into. Sometimes we have a hard time connecting with the experience of humility, which comes with asking for forgiveness. And while some of us may have encountered this work in a 12-step program, and the act of making amends, my experience of Unitarian Universalism and the idea of covenant often hasn't automatically translated into contrition and forgiveness in times of conflict. Another story about restoring relationship came to me through the Fetzer Institute. And in this story, a woman who served in the Peace Corps in Bulgaria shared her experience of the Bulgarian day of, I'll probably say this wrong, Den Zaprashka, or a day of forgiveness. And on this day, Bulgarians go to friends, family, and neighbors and coworkers to ask for and offer forgiveness. She was inspired by this experience while she was in Bulgaria, but it took her another 10 years to really experience the impact of this practice. When she came home to the United States, she received a call from her mother-in-law in Bulgaria. She got a lot out of serving there, apparently. So calling on the Day of Forgiveness, the mother-in-law called to ask forgiveness. And in the moment, this former Peace Corps worker relived all of the moments of tension and disagreement between her mother-in-law and herself. She remembered her mother-in-law living with them and the differences in generational ideas, cultural norms, and family expectations they bumped into. She described herself as humbled by the request, and she took a deep breath and then let them go, giving the asked for forgiveness and then asking the same. She says she felt instantly lighter as she let go, and the grievances disappeared into thin air somewhere between Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Bulgaria. The slate was washed clean, and I believe both experienced a kind of expansiveness also. Their relationship was suddenly held by a much larger container, a deeper love. So this is another experience of widening the circle, of making room for the other. And I wonder, if we were to practice a day of forgiveness, who would you call on to ask for forgiveness? And who would you grant forgiveness to? If we did that once a year, as in Bulgaria, how different would our society feel? How much more would be available? How much wider would the circle be? How much more accessible and inclusive? 25 years later, I'm still a little bit stunned when I remember my own story of restoring relationship. As I look at the landscape around me, the need for space and grace in our congregations and our society seems to have grown in a terrible way. There sometimes seems to be a gaping black hole between our intentions and our impact, a place where we can claim ourselves to be beyond recrimination and always right, because isn't it feel great to be right? A place where we can draw deep lines of separation and refuse to see what's on the other side. When I think of that other woman, the one I was at war with, the thing is, we didn't either of us appear to change fundamentally. And the landscape of power and privilege also didn't shift visibly or tangibly. We weren't suddenly close friends, and we didn't spend more time together. She was still someone I disagreed with, and she was still someone that our shared students experienced at times as too tough and uncaring. What changed was my ability to be in relationship with her and to create space for accountability for both of us, our ability to identify shared work and shared concern. I could come to her with a request, and she felt enough relationship with me that she would listen and respond without dismissing me or dissing me. She had more power in the system than I did, but she stopped using it to interfere with me and my work and started using it to listen a little more. And I had enough space to build a bridge for others to be in different relationship with her, students who otherwise might have given up and walked away. We experienced being vulnerable together, and it empowered us to change the story we were telling ourselves and others. Now, I want to experience restored relationships in other areas of our shared lives, and I know it isn't simple or easy. I've definitely experienced a brick wall in some situations where I tried to create enough relationship to shift a situation to a better place. I wonder what would have happened if my nemesis had never called me, if we had never found those places of connection. Would I have kept trying? I've definitely given up in other situations, in moments where the harm was too great and the promise of change was too tiny. What do we do when forgiveness isn't possible? Can we still restore enough relationship to move forward? And although we often hear otherwise, forgiveness is not necessary to restore a relationship or for you to regain a sense of wholeness. I want to say that again. Forgiveness is not necessary to restore a relationship for you or for you to regain a sense of wholeness. Harriet Lerner says, "You do not need to forgive the person who has hurt you in order to free yourself from obsessive anger and bitterness." We may be able to acknowledge someone's apology and accept their overtures for moving forward without forgiving all or any of their offenses. Forgiveness must also come from a place within that is voluntary and separate from the process of restoring relationship. We can move forward into a new future together that doesn't claim we are forgiven or have offered forgiveness. We can agree to restitution offered by the other party or new parameters for relationship. So similarly, I found that the discussion of mercy and justice often pits one against the other. This is because usually we're talking about justice as a kind of punishment, as in an eye for an eye. But when we view justice through the lens of restoring relationship, we have access to something akin to mercy, the chance to explore compassion and forgiveness and making amends while honoring and acknowledging the actual harm done. Mercy happens when we have the power to punish, but instead choose to restore relationship by allowing room for something more than punishment. Thich Nhat Hanh refers to this process as a practice of beginning anew, in which we create space for new relationship or possibility. This doesn't mean that there are no consequences for harm done, but that the consequences are not meant to be a permanent barrier to transformation and right relationship. Now, he tells a story from working with a Vietnam veteran. This veteran is haunted by his memory of the violent deaths of several children that he's responsible for, and his life is empty of meaningful connection, and every day is painful until he learns the practice of begin anew. Tay tells him that he will never be able to revise the past, but he is still alive and has the chance to choose how he will live. There are children who are suffering every day, children he can help and make a difference for. The practice of reaching out becomes a practice of beginning anew and finding new life and new purpose. So in truth, this is more than our simple concept of forgiveness and more than even our concept of redemption. Forgiveness can be a door that opens to us new possibilities and to a circle that is ever widening and open. But as the Dalai Lama said, the world is a spiritual democracy. You vote with your feet, and you vote with your life. There are other doors, and what ways we can each begin anew for ourselves and with each other. What new possibilities can we create in restoring relationships and making amends or forgiving and letting go for ourselves, each other, and the world we hope to serve and transform? And the world around us right now, restoring relationship and beginning anew are key to our work in dismantling systemic racism, de-escalating violence, and building resilient organizations, faith communities especially. The work of Tikkun Olam begins right here with each other, and Valley UU begins a new chapter of ministry this fall, one in which I hope you will reorient yourselves to ministry from a place of understanding conflict and learning to engage relationships inside and around your congregation with deeper understandings of how power and vulnerability can be shifted to restore relationships and build new, more responsive relationships. This might look like spiritual practices like asking for and offering forgiveness or beginning anew. It might also mean learning new skills for addressing conflict and making room for real differences while maintaining respect and honesty. Because American culture is, frankly, conflict avoidant. But important work is calling for each of us to dig deeper and find the means to change and shift and develop. The world needs more people who are willing to make amends and restore relationship, because ultimately, the work of our communities is the work of navigating conflict, trauma, and differences to chart a path to the common good, our common future. So here in this place, with these people, our shared congregational home, it's important to know that we are never doing this work alone. We may find ourselves in unfamiliar territory. We may find ourselves face to face with our own fears, dragged down by the troubles that we carry in our hearts. But we're not alone. We've made this place our home, and we're going to make it your home too. We may struggle to understand each other sometimes. We may wonder if we belong. We may wonder what the future holds. But let me be clear. You are not alone. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just hold on. We'll get there together. Blessed be. Amen. As you rest in the special music, we will be passing the offering baskets around. One of the ways that we create this as a home is to share our resources, but you don't just have to do it with the offering basket. You can do it with your presence, through your relationships with each other, with your time and talent given, in whatever ways that you may feel called to do that. You can give online, you can give by email, you can give money to us through the mail in a check. Some people still have those, right? All the ways we show up for each other, these are our offerings to each other. And I leave you with this special offering of music from our band.
Hold on to me as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. And although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause it's gonna make your place your home. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your home.
Please join in singing if you're able on the ahs. Keep singing.
Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you will always be found. Just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this space your home. Go!
Let's hear your voice.
And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone but exist as a field.
Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, the inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity.
Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood.
Just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony.
Alone as we are, our small voices weave into one big conversation.
Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive.
When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone.
We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all other dust, the dust that makes the world.
Amen. And blessed be.
In body or in spirit, please stand in body or spirit for our closing song. This is a beloved song of our community, I Am Willing by Holly Neer. And if you are new to this song, Noelle's going to sing the opening chorus for us. You can listen to how it goes. And if it's new to you, I have good news. It's the same thing over and over. So every verse and chorus is the same melody. And whenever a singer-songwriter does that, it's for the message and the words to really land in our hearts. So let's claim this together for ourselves, for one another, for our community, and singing, I Am Willing.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Caress Give me an ocean to hold in my sea. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It is honors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Let's do that one more time. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change.
Won't you join me in extinguishing our chalice this morning with these words? Though we extinguish the chalice, our connection to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world with compassion until we meet again. Blessed be. Have a great week. Go play in the water with Marcy when you get a chance, and we'll start classes on the 11th. If you're new, we'll meet you back in the Welcome Center. Take care, everyone.